Hey everybody, welcome back to Skyrim. I am Necrescent as always, and we have a new Skyrim modding mini-series. Right now we're standing outside Riverwood, but I want to show you a little picture here. I snapped this photo on a trip to England many years ago. This structure, this beautiful structure, is called Micklegate Bar. Now in Old English, a bar is it's not a tavern, it's not a place to go and get a pint. It is essentially a gatehouse, or a fortified entryway. You see, York is a walled city. I don't know exactly, I didn't look it up exactly, see when the wall was built. But, of course, the city has expanded. Well, it was centuries ago when it was built. But at the time, if you wanted to get in the city, because it had that wall around it, the only way to get in the city was through one of these bars, these fortified entryways. And I think there were 4 at one time, but there may only be 3 that are still standing. This is the nicest one, of course. And the reason I'm showing this is because this is what we're going to be building. Now, the one we're going to be building is not going to be a replica of this, but this is going to be our guide, our model, our inspiration. So we're going to be building something that's going to be very close to this. It's not going to be exact. I'm not sure I can get the same texture, so the stonework and the color may be a little bit different, but the construction and design of it should be very, very close to Micklegate. One of the things we do when we're testing mods is when we start the game, we want to check our work. We go in game. When we get to the main screen, instead of starting a new game or loading a save, what we can do is just bring up the console and type in COC and then the name of the cell. So, for example, if you've renamed the exterior cell where your house mod is, you type in that name, and as long as you have a COC marker in there, you'll get teleported there immediately. If you have an interior cell, you can do that, COC, and then whatever the name of your interior cell is. Now, right now, I typed in COC Riverwood, and this is where we are. And I'm pointing this out because right here is where this bar is going to be built. And in fact, I believe it is going to be right over top of us, which is no problem because it doesn't interfere with the COC marker at all. And there's going to be a nice big archway. But the structure itself is going to span the roadway, just like Micklegate Bar. So I've created in my head a little bit of a backstory for this one, right? A little bit of lore, a little bit of Necrescent lore for the Elder Scrolls. A long time ago, before the city, or the town, it's not really a city, is it? Before the town of Riverwood was founded, some prospector discovered iron ore deposits close by. So a mining operation was established, and at first the miners were living in tents and stuff right outside the mine. They decided to call that Emberwood Mine. But it soon became obvious that there just wasn't enough real estate around the mine entrance, and most of them relocated down here by the river because they needed the water and it's pretty flat and open. Well, in doing that, a blacksmith set up shop because they need their tools and picks and axes and things fixed. So a blacksmith was set up, and before long, a lumber mill was established. Now, at the time, the residents, or I guess the influential types of Riverwood, expected a lot of growth. They've got 2 industries going here. They've got the iron mine, they got the lumber mill, they've got a blacksmith, there were other businesses setting up shop. They were expecting a lot of growth. And they decided to protect their investment. And they were going to build a wall around the whole town. And they were going to put a bar at each end, the east end and the west end. So they decided to start on the west end. And they built one right here. And to come up with the name, they took parts of, well, the town was named Riverwood, of course, and they had Emberwood Mine. They took parts of both names and said, let's call this Emberwood Bar. Now there was a plan to put a bar at the other end as well, and then build a wall around the city. But unfortunately, Riverwood never experienced the kind of growth they were expecting, and they just didn't have the finances, and the other bar and the wall just never got built. But Emberwood Bar is going to be here. Is still here. So that's my little backstory for why this player home is right here. Because eventually it wasn't really serving much of a purpose, so it was converted to a residential building. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to jump out of game and I'm going to activate the mod because I've done a little bit of work on it and it's got a long way to go. So don't be too harsh, but I want to kind of show you what I've done so far to get an idea of what it is we're trying to do. So give me a second here and I'll jump out of game, activate the mod, and be right back. Alright, we are back and in about the exact same spot. And if we turn around we can see we are right under the archway. And this is the COC Riverwood. This is the COC marker. This is where it brings you. So you can see this does span a roadway, but there's no problem for any NPCs to pass through here. Then we come out here, we can see what I have going on. It's very early stages. There's still a little bit of work to do with this archway. This thing is a little bit difficult to work with. This is part of the pond wall that's in front of Dragon's Reach. And the bad thing about this is it's not a perfect semicircle or quarter circle. If you put four of these together, you don't get a perfectly round circle. You get essentially a rounded rectangle because it has some flat areas on the sides. But it's the best expansive archway I can find. So, but as I said, there's still a lot of work left to do with this thing. But this gives you some idea of what I'm trying to do. And this thing's going to be fairly tall, actually. The first floor is probably going to be up around that level, and then probably 2 more levels after that. And I think we're going to expand this down to about where the end of this thing is. Now the idea is to put a stairwell in here. That's subject to change though, because we do have a little bit of width right here. And actually I might make this wider because I think these are half-size pieces. Now this is a solitude floor piece. It's actually this piece right here that I tipped up on its side and I retextured. I really like this piece because this is the closest piece I've been able to find in the entire creation kit that comes... It's the only piece I've been able to find that comes closest to what Micklegate Bar looks like visually. The problem with this is, and I'll put up the picture of Micklegate Bar again, you can see those turrets on the front corners. I have to use basically Imperial Fort Tower sections and shrink them down. And there is, unless I can figure out how to do it third-party software, this texture doesn't exist. So I can retexture everything using this one. This is the same pond wall that's in front of Dragon's Reach. But this one, I'm not finding that texture anywhere. So, and that's kind of unfortunate. Now, there might be another piece I can use, but I still have to get up some kind of third-party software to change the visuals. I really don't know how to do that, but I'm going to keep that option open because I'd like it to be the same color. But even if it's not, this still looks pretty good. I still like this quite a bit, and it matches, the stonework here matches. So this is where it's at right now. There's still a lot of work left to do. I think the position of this is pretty good. And as you can see by the compass, I'm facing due east. And this is important because if I have to line up pieces, which I've had to do here, they will line up perfectly if these pieces are east-west or north-south. If they're at an angle, they may not line up perfectly. And following this road, because it kind of curves a little bit. This is the one spot out to about here where I can have this thing east-west, perfectly east-west. And it is right outside of town. So there are some advantages and the disadvantages of this thing being right here. Some people like homes that are a little more remote or alongside a lake or a river. And this one's right outside of town. But, you know, Riverwood's a popular town. A lot of people like this area. You do have a general merchant and a blacksmith here, so there are reasons to conduct business here. There's an alchemy lab in the inn, although the player home will have an alchemy lab. In fact, the player home's going to have all the crafting stations, because it's going to be 3 floors, so one of those can just be crafting stations. But still, you've got vendors here. You can buy materials, buy and sell items. So, yeah, it's not a bad spot. I walked all over Skyrim and I looked at a lot of places that were potentially, you know, where might a building like this that's built on the roadway, where might it suit that? You know, I mean, I looked at even the smaller towns like Rorikstead and Darkwater Crossing, and I just, you know, either the roads didn't line up right, or it just, the town didn't have anything to offer. Like Rorikstead has no vendors. Same with Darkwater Crossing. I thought, well, at least Riverwood has this, and I have this nice stretch of road. It's right here. It's not much, but it's just enough. And we're in this area at the start of the game anyway, so... and by the way, I didn't mention this before, but this is going to be an open world player home. I'm kind of liking the open world thing, even though I've got another one I'm still working on. It's called Fort Snake. You may have seen the videos for it. But this is going to be the same thing. It's not going to be a very big player home. I mean, it's going to be tall. It should look pretty impressive, but the actual floor space isn't going to be that much. But, you know, I kind of like the smaller homes anyway. But we can't use excessive cluttering and such because it is open world, and the more parts you put into it, the more of a FPS impact it's going to be. But I still think it's going to look pretty good when it's done. So anyway, that's about it for now. I've got quite a bit of work to do here. I've got to put a fascia on here, and I think I know what piece I'm going to use for that. And I might make these sides wider. I think these are half size. I might go with a full size to make sure that the stairs that were on the other side, they have plenty of room. There's a possibility that I may put something else, like a small tower on the back, and put in a spiral staircase in there. Now we'll have to see how that goes. But that's going to be it for now. Yep, Emberwood Bar. Brand new open world player home mod for Skyrim. So, thanks for watching. Take it easy, and I will see you in part 2.